Hi all, welcome to my channel, welcome to my world. This is the world of Wayne. Today I'm going to be doing stages 68 to 75 of the Fanhome release and build the Power Rangers Megazord. You know what, today I intended to do up to stage 83, but I've actually done up to stage 75 because it's all about the Mastodon today. We're actually building the other leg, which sounds easy in itself, but because this thing transforms and articulates, it does mean that the leg turns also into a gripping hand with fingers, so there is a lot to do. As a matter of fact, the recording time of this video is 1 hour 10 minutes. I've actually done it already. And I've gone back to do the introduction because I had to change it because I was intending to do more, but it took too long. So that's what I'm going to be doing today. Quite interesting how this actually goes together. Now, if you do want to get this for yourself, I don't know if it's available once again in the video description or on this QR code here where you'll find my Amazon store, my merch store, and every build that I'm doing on the channel. But without further ado, let's get cracking. Now, before we start, do you remember in the last pack I had a problem with the hips? Basically, they had sent me two right hips. Well, they have now sent me the left hip, which I have done. So as you can see, my hips now are in line and they're looking pretty good. That's the Tyrannosaurus there. Okay, so then stage 68. As you can see, we're going to start the right front leg of the Mastodon dinosaur. Not a lot to do, which is why I'm bundling all of these stages together. So it looks like that. And again, this is the rest of the magazine for stage 68. And here is stage 68. When I look at the pictures, they look a lot smaller than the parts actually are. I forget how big this build actually is. And before I throw it away, look, this is what that hip joint looked like, which was the wrong one. This was actually stamped with an R, but I actually needed the left-hand side one, so I could throw that away. So we've got this guide to put in first, which looks like this. It's actually going to be fitting onto the lug that we've got here, this way round. So that's fitting on top just like that. And I'm screwing it in with a PWM screw. Now, that is these fin screws here, the ones without the flange top. So let's screw that one in first. Now I've got a rubber bush to put on. That's going to be going over that center spindle just there. And then that'll enable me to put this detail on now, which we're matching up that rubber spindle into this position. So let's wiggle this into place, just like that. Obviously that's going to provide the friction for that. And then all I need is one of these flange screws here. Put that in down the front and screw that into position. Perfect. And when that's in, that's all there is to do in that stage. So swiftly on to stage 69. We've got the other side of this that we're putting in now. So this looks like this. Excellent. And again, this is the rest of the magazine. Another big part. And it's pretty much like we did at the start of the pack. And it's pretty much like we did in the last stage. Once again, we've got this part here, which is going to go onto the spindle on this side just here. Held in with a PWM screw. Screwed in there. Always remember, when you're putting plastic into metal, don't over tighten this, otherwise you will crack this plastic piece. Once again, we've got a bush that we're going to be putting on this side just here. Excellent. And then I'm going to be putting this section on exactly like we just saw last time. So this is going to be going on the top like this, just making sure that goes in. And I'm holding it in with one of the flange screws here. This is the PM screw, it's already got a thread lock on it as well. And we'll get that in nice and tight. And then this time I've got this bracket to put on, which is going to be going onto this section here. Now I need to make sure I've got it on the right way. So in the instructions, they've got it on this way. So it's basically horizontal to this notch on the side here. I'm holding these in with these black screws I've got here, which are PWB screws. We need 3 of these. And there you go. With that in place, that's all there is to do in that stage. In stage 70, again, we're still working on this leg of the Mastodon here, putting all of this together. So now that's looking like that. Wow, that looks good. This is the rest of the magazine. So I am going to bring up what we've been working on the Mastodon already, which was these sections just here. Leave that to one side. And here you go, smaller pack this time, stage 70. So I need this part of the case here that we had when we first started this pack. I'm going to be putting one of these joints in place. Now this is going to be going through the hole here, just like that. So it's coming out the other side there. And I'm going to hold that in with these PWM silver screws. And these actually come in from this direction here. And there's 4 of these to put into place. Excellent, so that's in like that. Now on the other side of that, I've got this detail here, which is going to be going onto this side like that. We want it to go in this way so that the base here is in line with this edge. And once again, it's 4 of these screws to hold this to the other side of that joint there. So put this to one side. I'm going to be bringing over the legs that we've been working on at the moment. It's this one that I'm going to want first. And I'm just going to turn this around so it's this way, facing outwards, because I do have this little joint to put into place, which actually goes in this side here. And I do want this to be pushed all the way in. And I do think it's going to need a little bit of percussive force there, even though I'm going to have to glue this back on there. And there you go, that's in all the way just like that. And that's all there is to do in that stage. We are left over with this piece here. So, stage 71. One little piece in here that we're going to be putting in just like this. And this is the rest of the magazine. We will be whizzing through all of these, I think. And here is stage 71 here. There's actually a little bit to do in this stage because we're going to be taking what we've just done and we're actually assembling this to the main Mastodon body. But as you can see, this is all hinged, looking like this. All metal. Okay. The side that where we just put this joint in, I'm actually going to be piecing this together now. So I want to take this side now. We're going to be attaching this to this side here. So where we've got the slot in there, I'm going to put that over the joint that I put in here. There you go. That's perfect. So as you can see, that's in place like that. Put that to one side and bring over the other side that we were working on here, which looks like this. This is where I'm going to need to take what we get in this stage. And I'm going to want to take the pin here and put that over this lug here. I also now need the clip that we saved last time. That's going to be going down here. So now that's locked into position, as you can see on that side there. And then this whole thing here is going to be attached to the leg on this side. Probably best to open it up like it just did there, actually. So for that reason, I'm going to match up the shape and put this together just like this. As you can see, the hinge I'm making sure bites into that area there. So now that is together, and I've got these black PB screws here which are going to hold it in on this side here. So I'm going to be putting one through the top here all the way down. That's going to hold one side in, and the other one is just in the position here all the way down to hold that in as well. So that's going to keep that together. There you go. When that's in, that is how this should look. That's all there is to do in that stage. Okay, so we've got some trim for that leg now. So we're going to be putting all of this together. Actually, we've got some trim for the body by the look of it is what we're putting on here. So now that's looking like that. And again, here's the rest of the magazine. And here are all the parts for stage 72. Look at this, lots of parts. So first thing we're going to do is, obviously we put this leg on now, but we've got some trim here to put into position. So they are shaped, so they can only really go on one way. So this one's going to be going on this side here, just like that. I haven't glued this in. I don't know whether I'm meant to. it is holding itself, and then do the same on this side here. Probably best on the top camera. There we go. That's in place just like that. And then put that to one side, because now we're working on, by the look of it, another joint section, and we've got quite a chunky joint this time, which is actually going to be going in here. And again, I do want this to go all the way down, so I do use a bit of percussive force to ensure that that's in place there. This is then going to be going onto this silver part here. There is a slot for this to fit into. If you find you haven't got this lined up, get yourself some pliers. And as you can see, you can turn this around, and that will fit then lovely into position there. Okay, so the leg we've been working on, I want to put this metal section upwards like we've just done there. Because I need to access this panel here. I just had a bit of the metal trim fall off here, so what I'm going to do is just put some masking tape on this. I have glued it now, but I don't want this coming off. So I'm just going to put some masking tape just over there to keep it in while it's drying. Okay, so they're going to want this in a special position. So this is the position that we're going to be putting this in, just like that. You see, this here rotates, so we can put it in that position there. Now, what we created just now is actually going to be going onto this side here. So I want to make sure that that fits flush in there like that. And I'm holding it in with PWB screws. There's 2 PWB screws, believe it or not. We want the ones that haven't got the flange on them. These have both been put in the magazine as PWB. We don't want the flanged one. We want the normal one. I think that must be an error there, but we're going to be putting these into the holes here. They go into the larger holes. So one at the top and one just at the bottom here. And then we want to hide those screw holes by putting in another bit of trim, which looks like this. Again, we don't need glue for this. That'll just push in like that. I'll just put that to one side while I just create this cradle here now, where we've got some parts to put on the outside here. So we've got this one first, which is going to be going onto this side. So I'm pushing this over the edge here, so it snaps into position like that, and it's facing outwards. I want to hold that in with one of these flanged PWB screws now. So one in here. And then do exactly the same on the other side. And another one of these big screws into position. And then I want to open the last lot of screws we've got in this pack, where there's 2 black screws. These are PB screws. Let's get one loaded up, because we're going to be putting this onto the end just here. When we put this on, we want to make sure that the notches in this, you can probably see the notches are facing upwards. Now, if this is in the wrong position for these to fit upwards, just rotate this part around here. And as you can see, that's going to fit in there fine. And I'll screw this in. That is how that should look when it's done. Excellent. In stage 73, here's the instructions. Wow, look at all the little parts here. This is the left hand of the Megazord. Wow. Looks good. And again, this is the rest of the magazine. Loads of little parts here, including some which are on a sprue. I do have my sprue cutters here. But the first thing I want to do is take the thumb top and put this on the thumb base. Now, I'm trying to figure out, that's the thumb base there. So I need something that matches that, which I'm guessing is this, which is the thumb top. And I'm just pushing these parts here together. Like that. There we go. We have a thumb. This thumb is going to be going into the cradle here. And there is a ball joint in there for that to fit into. So that's going to be going in like that. But to hold that in, we've got a bracket that needs to go over the top of this, which looks like this. You see it's got a ball joint in there, which when I put this over the top is going to bite that thumb into place so it can't come out. And I'm holding that in with PWB screws. Now, the only screws we get in this stage are the PWB, so it's easy to figure out what screw we're using this time. Now we need 2 of these. One there. and one on the other side here. So the thumb is now attached to a hand. Okay, now I need the two parts of the ball joint housing, which is on this sprue here. So let's cut these off. And the way these work, basically we've got these rubber friction discs which go in here. So that's going to be pushed into that side there. And on the other side, we've got another one, which is going to go into that side just there, like that. And then in the middle of these, we've got this joint here. So that's going to sit into that little rubber section we've just put in. And then I'm going to clamp the other side over here. And then I'm going to screw them together once again with these PWB screws. Now the way you want to do these is put these in so that they bite together and not coming out, but don't make them tight. So there is 3 of these. What we're trying to do is get equal pressure on there. So that's why you're putting them in first and then tighten them up afterwards. So it's a nice tight seal. That can go probably a tiny bit tighter. There you go. To hold that into place. A lot of friction in there. Okay, taking the thumb section here now, what I'm going to do is put this into place. Now, there is a way round this goes. By the look of it, it's going this way with the screws facing up into there like that, into the thumb section. We're going to put a bracket over the top of this to hold this into place, and that looks like that. So again, push that into place. This time 3 screws to hold this in. That is perfect, looking like that. Put that to one side, and now we've got these parts here that we're going to be putting together. And these are the tops for them, and they are numbered. So let's cut these off the sprue. They're numbered 1 and 2. Yeah, completely ignore the instructions now because they are just so confusing. We want to put these covers in. So this one's got a number 4 in here. I want to put a number 2 over the top here. So I'm just going to line them up and push that in. That's going to make a finger. Now on this one, we've got a number 1, in which case I'm going to be putting a number 1 into this side to put these together like that. On this one's got a number 2, and I'm going to be putting a number 2 on there, which means number 3 is going to have a number 1 on it. That's so confusing. Okay. So we're going to be putting all of these together now. So basically we're going to be taking this one here first. We've got one without any spindles on. So this goes next to it like this. And then I've got ones with spindles on. So it's the longer or the thicker of the fingers going next. And then it ends with this one here going on the end like that. So that is what all the fingers look like when they're together. So this is now going into where we've created our little grip here. So this fits in this side like that. I want to hold that in. So I've got a bracket here which goes over the top of all of this to push that into place. So we can articulate these, which is cool. And I've got 2 PWB screws, which is going to hold that in just into the holes here. And then the last thing to do is to hide those screw holes by putting this plate over the top. That is all there is to do in that stage. So after that interlude with the hand, in stage 74, we're going to return to the leg of the Mastodon there. This is the rest of the magazine. There's some big old parts in here. So this is the left outer cover here. So what we're going to do now with this outer cover here, you see we've got these 3 holes in the end. It's the middle hole that I'm interested in. I want one of these black screws here, which are KB screws. And there's 2 in a pack, and they are flat-headed. And I want to line up that middle hole with this lug here. So if I get that into position like that, and I can screw this into place on here. So as you can see, that's into place like that. This actually can then fold down there. Now, if I turn that round like this so I can get to it. We're going to be working on this side here now. So I want the left side of the leg here. It's got an L in it. And then I want to cut one of these from the sprue. Now the way this goes is actually this fits into the cavity just there on that side. Now you see that I've got this really big metal rod here. One's got a flat side on. Now I want to be putting the one with the notch in first. So that's going to go through this here. The other side of that is actually going to be going into this point down here. So that's going to fit in like that there. Now I'm holding it from the other side with a PM screw. That's one of these silver ones here. So I am putting this into some oil because this is all metal here. And I'll get this screw into position. That's perfect. And it's already located itself into the position that this is going to fold into. As you can see, it's going to go this way around here. Now, you want to be checking this because you've got in this pack, look, these I almost threw away, these bushes. I need these bushes here. We're going to be putting this in. So it's actually going to fit into this cavity section just here. I want to push this all the way in. Just like that. Because what I'm about to do is put the hand that we created on top of this. So basically the hand is going to go on this way on top. Just like that. So I can actually move this into position here. And then when I'm piecing this together now, I've got another bush to put on, which is going to go over the top of this one here. So that when I close this off, it's going to be going into this little section here. Might be better actually, thinking about it, to put this bush actually into here first, like that. And then put this over the top. I think that might be better. Now before I push this together, we've got this little red lens to put in as well, which is going to be fitting into this section here like that. Hopefully you can see that. And now I'm in a position to push this all together. Perfect. That's all in. Excellent. I need PWB screws to hold this together. 2 of these. One here. And one on the other side. Nice. So that is now into position there. Just keep that to one side so I can bring over this part now, and I do have a clip to put in, which is going to go into that section there, again with PWB screws to hold this in. And we need 2 of these, so one there and one the other side. There's a lot going on in this stage, isn't there? This is what's going to be attaching to the base here. So if we look at the direction this is going to go, it's actually going to be going in this way, so that the claws are towards the front there. And again, PWB screws to hold this in. And we need 2 of these. And then it's just a case of putting the bottom of this into place. And this clips in. So 1, 2, make sure we get rid of all of that. There you go, that's fitting absolutely lovely there. And which means the last thing we've got to put in is just this section here, which is going to hide the screw holes at the top, just like this. Now at this stage, we do have a thread for a screw in there, but we're not actually doing anything. But that, as you can see, has now got 3 legs, is all there is to do in that stage. Now in stage 75, we're going to continue this leg. And I think, you know what, the recording time's already an hour, so I think this is all I'm going to be doing. I don't think I'm going to move on to the next piece. But this is the rest of the magazine. And it's a big piece we've got in here. And it's a big metal piece that we've got in here. And some of the trim as well. And if I just bring this over what we've been working on at the moment, we're going to be now attaching this piece to this side here, exactly like we did last time. So what I'm going to do is line up that hole there with the middle hole just there. At the same time, I'm going to be making sure that this goes over that shaft which had the screw hole. We didn't know where that was going, so let's get this all lined up. That's the top. And that's the bottom. Excellent. Okay, 2 different screws here. We've got the black KB screw, which is going to go into this top one here. And then I've got the silver PM screw, which I've just touched in oil, which is going to go into the other side of that shaft just there. Now, once that's in, I'm now in a position to actually put the trim on. Now, there are 2 which look similar. If you can't get one on, it's probably the other side one that needs to go on. They should fit on nice and easy, just like that. The other one is obviously going on the other side over here. Now, I do think we are going to need to glue these. As you see, this has fell out here. So I've just put some glue on this to keep that into place. I'm then going to hide the screw holes either side with these silver plates here. So one in there, and then one in the other side here. And then these round ones here are going to hide the screw holes here. So one there and one in this side here. So that is how that is looking at the moment. Pretty impressive. Now, in the next stages, we're actually working on the pterodactyl. So I think I'm leaving it there, because if you look at this, and I'm looking at my recording time, 1 hour, 5 minutes, we've done a lot, but it articulates, it's able to move. I mean, it's the whole transformer concept of this is like, it's pretty amazing, but I haven't got a clue how we do this. Look, it's making an arm there, I guess. So I will figure this out. I'm going to have an enormous amount of fun playing with this, I know that. But I do like how we have now created 3 legs. It does mean we've got to do exactly the same thing on this side. So that's going to be fun as well. It's a big model, but I really hope you liked that video. If you did, please remember to give me a thumbs up. And if you haven't subscribed already, please remember to subscribe. Other than that, take care.